In today's political world, a single social media post can spark national outrage in minutes. That's exactly what happened when President Donald Trump's official Truth Social account shared a crude meme. Not a policy update, but a video that drew instant condemnation. The post, live for 12 hours, shocked millions, and overshadowed any positive news the administration hoped to promote. Its offensive content forced a national conversation about race, respect, and the responsibilities of the presidency. The meme wasn't just a gaffe. It reignited debates about division and leadership in America. As the controversy exploded, it became a test of loyalty, a moment of reckoning, and a symbol of the deep fractures in our nation. The outrage that erupted was immediate and intense, centering on the meme's use of a deeply racist trope, depicting Barack and Michelle Obama with ape imagery. This wasn't just a tasteless joke or a random insult, it was a calculated use of one of the most dehumanizing slurs in American history, a tactic that has been used for centuries to strip black people of their humanity and dignity. The association of black individuals with apes is a dehumanizing insult rooted in centuries of white supremacy, a tool wielded to justify violence, exclusion, and systemic oppression. This kind of imagery has been used to reinforce racist hierarchies, to legitimize discrimination, and to send a clear message about who belongs and who does not. It's a reminder of the ugly legacy of Jim Crow, lynchings, and the relentless efforts to keep black Americans marginalized. The meme wasn't subtle, it was a direct attack, reviving one of the oldest and most vicious forms of racist caricature. It echoed the kind of propaganda once used to incite hatred and violence, now repackaged for the digital age. While the video also mocked other Democrats, the focus was unmistakably on the Obamas. Their prominence as the first black president and first lady made them frequent targets for this kind of vitriol, and the meme's intent was clear: to single them out for special scorn. The meme's spread online was rapid and seemingly unstoppable. Within hours it had been shared, reposted and discussed across countless platforms, ensuring that the damage was done even after the original post was deleted. The internet's memory is long, and the harm inflicted by such images is not easily erased. Many observers saw the post as a deliberate provocation, an attempt to energize and appeal to the most extreme elements of Trump's base. It was a signal, a wink to those who traffic in hate, that their views were not only tolerated, but amplified from the highest levels. For black Americans, the meme was more than just offensive. It was a painful reminder of how fragile progress can be, and how quickly old wounds can be reopened. It reignited memories of past struggles and underscored the ongoing fight for respect and equality. The meme's ugliness, amplified by the president's account, forced a necessary but deeply painful national conversation about racism, power, and the responsibilities of those in leadership. It was a stark reminder that the fight against hate is far from over. The White House scrambled to contain the fallout, but only deepened the crisis. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt blamed a staffer, claiming Trump hadn't seen the full video. Hours later, Trump contradicted her, admitting, "Actually, I did it. I looked at the post." He insisted he only saw the beginning, not the offensive ending, a claim met with skepticism. The conflicting stories created a credibility crisis, raising questions about honesty and accountability. When pressed to apologize, Trump refused, declaring, "No, I didn't make a mistake." The administration's shifting explanations fueled the controversy, making the response as damaging as the original post. The White House's inability to manage the fallout became part of the story itself. The chaos spilled onto Fox News, where Press Secretary Leavitt faced tough questions from Laura Ingraham. Leavitt stuck to the discredited staffer story, trying to pivot to economic achievements, but Ingraham wouldn't let the issue go. Even Republican Senator Pete Ricketts was calling for an apology, highlighting bipartisan outrage. Leavitt was cornered, unable to admit Trump's responsibility or explain the refusal to apologize. The interview exposed the administration's lack of accountability and deepened public frustration. Leavitt's on-air struggle became a symbol of the White House's broader crisis. Sometimes, refusing to take responsibility is more damaging than the original mistake. The backlash was swift and revealing. Democrats called the post overtly racist and part of a pattern, demanding accountability. The Democratic National Committee called it disgusting and unforgivable. Republicans were divided, many stayed silent. But some, like Senator Pete Ricketts, publicly called for an apology. Senator Tim Scott, the highest-ranking black Republican, was reportedly deeply disturbed, calling it the most racist thing he'd seen from the White House. Trump later claimed Scott understood 100%, downplaying the senator's reaction. The incident forced Republicans to choose between loyalty and principle, exposing deep party divisions. It was a moment that tested unity and revealed the moral compromises of Trump-era politics. Trump's response to criticism followed a now-familiar pattern. He offered denial, deflected blame, and turned the spotlight back on his own perceived virtues. Rather than acknowledging any fault or offering an apology, he doubled down on his self-image, presenting himself as a champion of fairness and equality. This approach has become a hallmark of his public persona, especially when confronted with allegations of racism or insensitivity. He famously declared, "I am the least racist president you've had in a long time," and insisted that he loves all the people. These statements, delivered with characteristic bravado, were meant to reassure his base and deflect criticism. Trump often points to his record on criminal justice reform and economic gains for minority communities as evidence of his inclusivity, even as he faces ongoing scrutiny. For his supporters, these words and actions are often seen as sufficient proof of his good intentions. They argue that Trump is unfairly targeted by the media and political opponents, and that his blunt style is mistaken for prejudice. On the other hand, critics view his denials as hollow, especially in light of a long and well-documented history of racially charged statements and actions. The record is extensive. In the 1970s, Trump and his family business faced lawsuits for housing discrimination against black tenants. Decades later, he took out full-page ads calling for the death penalty for the Central Park Five, who were later exonerated. He was also a leading voice in the birther movement, which falsely questioned President Obama's citizenship. The meme that sparked the latest controversy wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a broader pattern of provocative statements and actions that have fueled debate and division. Social media has amplified these moments, turning them into viral flashpoints that shape public perception. His presidency has been marked by moments that many found deeply troubling, such as his "very fine people on both sides" comment after the Charlottesville rally, and derogatory remarks about African nations. These incidents have become defining moments in the ongoing conversation about race and leadership in America. For many Americans, Trump's words and actions are irreconcilable with the values of equality and respect. The nation remains divided, with some seeing him as a truth-teller and others as a symbol of intolerance. Ultimately, his defense is widely seen as self-serving, often ignoring a mountain of contrary evidence and leaving the country to grapple with the consequences of his rhetoric and record. Critics point to a deeper, more troubling pattern, one that goes beyond isolated incidents. Throughout Trump's administration, there was a consistent trend of replacing high-level black officials with white men, raising alarm among civil rights advocates and political observers alike. This wasn't just about individual personnel changes, it reflected a broader shift in the makeup of government leadership, with significant implications for representation and policy direction. The New York Times brought national attention to this trend, publishing investigative reports that questioned the administration's true commitment to diversity and inclusion. The coverage sparked debate across the country, with many asking whether these changes were intentional or simply the result of political turnover. The articles highlighted not only the loss of black leadership, but also the impact on morale and trust within government agencies. Black leaders were removed from top roles across a range of government bodies, from the Joint Chiefs of Staff to the National Labor Relations Board. These were not just symbolic positions, they were critical roles that shaped national policy, military strategy, and labor rights. The absence of black voices in these spaces meant fewer perspectives at the table when key decisions were made. Even attempts to oust Lisa Cook, a respected black economist from the Federal Reserve Board, fit this troubling pattern. Her nomination faced intense opposition, with critics arguing that her expertise was being overlooked in favor of political considerations. The controversy underscored how difficult it can be for black professionals to not only reach, but also remain in, positions of influence. These moves don't just reduce diversity, they send a chilling message about whose voices are truly valued in the halls of power. When talented, experienced black officials are systematically replaced or excluded, it signals to others that their contributions may not be welcome or respected. This can discourage future generations from pursuing public service, further narrowing the pipeline of diverse talent. The fight against diversity equity, and inclusion has become a central rallying point for conservative politics. By targeting DEI policies and rolling back diversity initiatives, these actions put that ideology into practice, reshaping the very fabric of government institutions. Supporters argue it's about merit, but critics see it as a step backward for equality and representation. The meme controversy is just one visible part of a much broader effort. Critics warn that these moves are designed to erase black leadership and roll back decades of hard-won progress. The stakes are high, not just for those directly affected, but for the future of a truly representative democracy. This controversy is about more than a meme. It's about leadership, respect, and the values that define America. The presidency demands moral clarity and a commitment to dignity for all. For some, disruption and norm-breaking are virtues. For others, a president must embody unity and respect. Racist imagery from the highest office is a grave betrayal of that duty. When leaders normalize bigotry, it erodes trust and deepens division. This moment forces us to ask, what will we tolerate from our leaders? And what kind of nation do we want to be? The journey toward a more perfect union continues, and this incident reminds us how far we still have to go.